Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Just Make It Pretty podcast. Today, I have a super exciting topic. We are talking about the power of AI in marketing and how it could be your new best friend. So, if you are interested, stick around and we'll get into it. Welcome to the Just Make It Pretty podcast, the slightly unhinged marketing podcast for home builders and beyond. I'm your host, Sarah Haynes, also known as the Pixel Wizard, and my goal is to tackle the tough stuff that goes in behind the scenes in marketing and offer actionable tips, creative insights, and a little bit of humor to spark some creativity. I'm so glad you're here. Now let's get started. All right. So I was doing an episode the other day. I was talking to someone about one of our recent episodes, and they were like, Jesus, Sarah, you talk so fast. So I know I'm just excited. So I'm going to try to slow down today a little bit. It's probably not going to work, but I did want to just acknowledge I know I talk super fast, and it's just because this is one of the most exciting things that I've done in a long time. And I think I just like drink a lot of coffee before I film. So today we are talking about AI. And I know that there's a lot of people talking about AI right now. It's a huge topic. A lot of questions are out there. And one of the things I hear all the time is AI is here to replace us, right? I don't think that's going to happen. I did want to talk about how we use it. Now, I've been using AI for much since it started. I'm just playing around with it, but it's become a daily thing for me. I use it pretty much every day now for different types of tasks. And I just wanted to talk about how I use it. What are some things that I see that work, that haven't worked, and what makes it like a superpower for marketers? So that's my goal today. I have a lot of notes that some of you also notice I look off to the side sometimes. If you're watching the video of the podcast, then yes, I do have notes because I do not have a perfect memory. So my notes are quite long for this episode. So I'm really excited because I have a lot of things that I want to share. But the first thing is, how do I use it? And how are some things that, or what are some things that I like to do with it on a daily basis? So that's the first thing that I'm going to talk about. Now, I view AI as not just a tool, but an extension of what I'm thinking, right? So I know when I first started my career and for most of my career, a lot of what I would do is stare at these spreadsheets and try to come up with new ideas. And okay, what am I going to post for social media? Like I need campaign ideas. And it was just, there's a lot of just like staring at like a blank screen and expecting to come up with something, right? And I feel like AI really helps with that. It helps me come up with new ideas. It helps me formulate my thoughts because sometimes my thoughts can be all over the place. So I put it all in there and be like, okay, let's organize this for me. Right. So it's like a second brain in a way, is how I like to think of it. And then it also helps me with tasks that I just don't like to do. So I told this story actually a while ago in one of my social media videos, but this is something I started doing with ChatGPT and I was so happy about it. Now, it might not be revolutionary to some, but to me, it was definitely revolutionary. And as you guys might know, I do websites. I develop my own websites, I design websites. And one of the things that we have to do a lot when we do websites is forms. And we get forms from like CRMs, we get them from different applications and things like that. And they're always so ugly and they don't match anything that I've designed. And I do all custom design work. So I want that form to look like the rest of the website that I made. So I usually design out the forms and then we have to write code to customize this form and how it's going to actually populate. And I don't know why. It's just something I hate. I just hate working with form. I will custom code a lot of things, but styling forms is just like the one thing that's irritating to me. So I had this idea the other day. It was actually a couple months ago now, but I had designed out this whole website and it included a form and I got the form code and the form was just super ugly and not styled. And so I started going in on it and I was like, I'm just going to see if ChatGPT can help me. And I named my ChatGPT Donna after what is the show? Suits. After Suits. I've named my ChatGPT Donna after Suits. So I was like, Donna, can you help me with this form? So I took a screenshot of the design form that I had done and I took the code that the CRM is exported for me and I put both in. I was like, can you make this code look like this? And it was like, oh, amazing. Yeah, sure. Of course. So it gave me this code back and I put it into the site and it looked pretty dang good. There were a few issues. It didn't come out perfect the first time, but I took another screenshot. I was like, okay, so this is what it looks like. I'm having trouble with the button. The button was the hardest part for some reason. And it was like not styled right. So I was like, how do I style the button? So it's, oh, let's try this. And it gave me some different CSS. And within 2 or 3 different renditions of this, I had a form that looked almost exactly like what I had designed. And it was so much easier than doing it myself. It was so exciting because I had never done something like that where I was like, put in a photo. But now I use that kind of feature all the time. It can analyze different photos and give you an analysis of it or give you a code. And it just saves me so much time. So that was the thought process. I was like, oh my gosh, if I didn't know this, there's probably other people out there that didn't know all the things that ChatGPT could do. So why not make an episode about it? So here we are. So the first kind of segment that I want to talk about is what makes AI a marketing superpower and how can we use it? So I think of AI as doing the mental heavy lifting for me and automating boring tasks. Things that I use it for are like drafting email templates, purposing content. So say I have a blog, I need social media post for it, or I need to put this in our newsletter or something like that. Summarizing reports, summarizing a bunch of data that I have, reformatting data. Those kind of things are like really, they're pretty easy for AI. It's pretty well known that AI can do these things, and I use it pretty often. But I also use it as the second brain. And that's why I named it Donna, because I felt like it needed to be a person. But I let it take my ideas. So I talk to Donna all the time and I have the app on my phone. So when I have ideas, I'm like, oh, hey, I've got this idea. I talk about it. I brainstorm. I'm a very like out loud thinker. I need to start verbalizing in order to think through my thoughts. So I do that with Donna. And I tell her all about these half-baked strategies that I have, and she helps me refine those into actionable plans. She also just remembers it so I can go back and be like, "Hey, what was an idea I had?" Or, "Hey, did I ever have any ideas on this?" And it just helps me remember and formulate plans later as well. So it's a really great way to like brain dump a bunch of things. And I do it a lot when I'm driving because I can just set it up and sit it down and just talk. And it's really helpful for brainstorming and remembering. So I want to talk about those things that I do, but also give you some other ways that you could use AI that maybe you haven't thought of, and also like how to get the best response. Because I've definitely found with those ways that I use AI, I sometimes you put in the wrong prompt or not a great prompt, and you're not going to get the greatest outcome. So I've definitely learned that good prompts are key. Now, I've seen people out there selling prompts, like books about prompts and things like that. Don't buy that, okay? You can figure these out for yourself, number 1, or there's a ton of free resources as well, and spoiler alert, I'm gonna have a free resource, so stay to the end because 'cause I'll tell you about that, but the prompts is really where it's at. So, you have to take you have to give ChatGPT enough, or any AI that you're using, you have to give it enough info to give you a response that you want, right? Because it's gonna give you a response no matter what. But you gotta tell it exactly what you want. So, if I'm repurposing content, for example, this is maybe a prompt that I might use. So, take this blog post about whatever the topic is, sustainable home building trends, let's just say, and create a LinkedIn post, an Instagram caption, and a 3-sentence email teaser. Use a professional but approachable tone. Now, the tone part of that is really important because you want it to sound like your business. Another thing you can do is give it a bunch of examples of, hey, this is what I want my content to sound like. These are articles that I like. When you repurpose my content or when you make these email headlines, please make it sound like this. The other thing I like to do is here's this rough idea. I have this idea for this concept and I just really need help formatting it. So I'll say, here's a rough idea for a campaign about energy efficient homes. Expand it into a 5-step content strategy, including blog titles, social media topics, email themes, whatever I'm working on. I ask it to do all of it and then it shoots something out. I also like to ask it though, hey, I'm talking to this specific person. So I like bunch all these up into one really long prompt, but asking like for the tone, asking for telling it what exactly you want, what exactly you're doing, and what the topics are that you're doing, but also sharing what are your goals? Like, I'm going to use it for this outcome, or I want to do this thing with it can be helpful. Also, telling it who your audience is. If you haven't put in your demographics and your whole persona in there, you should. So write this email targeting first time home buyers who are hesitant about taking on a mortgage. That would be a great way to start a prompt so that it knows exactly what you're doing, what your goal is, who you're talking to, because a lot of times you might have different personas. So you'll say, this is the one that I want to talk to. And then you can say, emphasize these things. So these were your ideas going in. So emphasize like affordability, the communities, and long-term value, let's just say. So that will give ChatGPT enough, knowing what you've already put into it, to create you a better outcome. I think that is really important too. A lot of people miss that initial kind of training because these prompts are going to link back to other things you've told it. You are going to have to remind it, especially with ChatGPT. That's one of the things that annoys me, but you do have to remind it, hey, remember my core demographic is XYZ. And then it'll be like, oh, yeah. Or it will say, I don't remember that. So tell me again. You want to always have an idea of what you want. And you want to tell it as much as you can, even if you've already told it. But the more you tell it in the past, it will start remembering things and it will start reasoning better, especially if you have the paid version of ChatGPT. It's definitely better than the free version. So just remember that your prompts are really important and it should be pretty long. Definitely a couple sentences, at least a couple sentences, more than like 3 to 5, at least. The other thing I like to do with AI, and this is a little bit of a kind of a other side note, is training my AI to work like me. It also goes into the training thing that I was just talking about. I want my AI, Donna, to be like an extension of me, right? Like it's my second brain. It needs to think and act like me. So I like to share like my preferred tone and like what words I use and what style I have. So giving it examples of, hey, here's an email I've written, analyze this for tone, style, format, and use it to write like me in the future. It will give you an output then of an analysis of your tone. And then you can see, okay, is that what I want? Is that, it's a good way to audit yourself, but is that the correct thing? You can always correct it. But giving it examples will help it sound more like you when it writes. And I always say, mimic this writing style. I also use descriptor words like I want it to be conversational or professional or slightly witty or whatever I want the output to sound like. I usually remind it in that initial prompt, but giving it examples so that it sounds more exactly like you can be helpful because that output's just going to keep getting better and better. It also helps with like your brand voice, right? So if you're putting in your brand guidelines into ChatGPT, it will analyze and give you outputs based on your company's voice and styles. A prompt idea for that would be like, write me a social media post about community amenities for home buyers, match the style guide I provided, focusing on being friendly and professional. Right. So it's only maybe 3 sentences, 2 or 3 sentences, but I've given it more information. And what I've seen people when I've talked to a lot of different people about AI, they're like, I asked it to create a social media post. And that's literally like the prompt is like, create a social media post. I'm a home builder. And I know there's more to it than that, but it's very simplified. And you're not giving it enough to really give you an output that's actually usable. So you end up having to edit it so much that like it really was just an idea of a post. Or some people are just posting it, which I'm like, don't do that. I have some notes here about using your AI as a second brain. Now, like I talked about this in the beginning, these are things that I do, but I wrote them all out. And when I was writing them all out, it was actually a lot more things than I like really had initially thought. Things like talking to it and asking it to validate your ideas or to fix things, tell you, here are the campaign ideas I'm thinking about, evaluate and suggest ones that align with my target audience, or tell me where I might be missing something here. So I give it a lot of just random thoughts and ideas, and it helps me take those and make sense of them and make sure that I haven't like completely missed something. It plays devil and advocate with me, if you will. The other thing is task prioritization. So I love Asana, but even with Asana, I have my task list and sometimes it's just, oh my gosh, I just cannot. Like there's just so much on my list every day. So it'll help me like prioritize things. Now you do have to give it your whole list and it will ask you, I usually ask it to say, hey, what do you need to know in order to prioritize this? But you could say, suggest how much time I need to spend on these things or suggest which things I should move to tomorrow or whatever. I don't use it that much anymore, but definitely like in the beginning of me using Chat GPT, that was one of the things I used a lot was just like, hey, I'm overwhelmed. What can I do? What can you help me with? Like, how can I prioritize these tasks? The other thing, which I already said, was content gap analysis. So saying, hey, what gaps do I have in my content? What gaps am I not filling with my social media or even with this idea? And I've given you all these ideas. What are the gaps in there? Where are my biases? That was something I was listening to a podcast or a webinar actually that my partner Sherry and the growth expert at Open House AI and the founder of Open House AI was also on. They were talking about AI and they were saying, like, show me my biases. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I never thought to do that. But that's such a great way to give you a bigger picture of your ideas, to point out things that maybe you wouldn't normally think of. So I loved that. And I started doing that and it's been really helpful. The other thing that I use on a daily basis is like creative brainstorming. So, like generating ideas. Like I said, I'm not great with looking at a blank page. So, this gives me a starting point, right? So, generating or the prompt would be like generate 10 out of the box ideas for promoting an open house event that includes social media, email, and in person strategies, let's say. So, it'll give me ideas. Now, I take those ideas, I rework them, I add to them. I'm not just being like, okay, all done, right? Like I have to, there's still work that I do, but it helps me with those 10 ideas. I can then cut down to 3 or 4 that I really like. I can flesh those out a little bit more. I can ask follow-up questions. So it just helps me with that brainstorming process. And I view it as like a brainstorming session with Donna. And then lastly, I use a meeting recorder, an AI meeting recorder called Otter. And it helps me with condensing meetings transcripts into like actionable items. It summarizes things. You can also do the same thing with Chat GPT. You can take a transcript of your meeting, it will do the same thing. So that's super helpful because I'm terrible at taking notes in meetings because I'm like, I'm present. I want to talk to the person that I'm there with. I do take a lot of notes, but I don't feel like my notes are, I don't always capture everything. So the AI just helps me do that. So those are some of the things that I do and some of the ways that I prompt it. And then I've noticed too, talking to a lot of people about this, that giving feedback after you prompt it is also super important. And I feel like some people do this really well and some people don't. So I thought I would include it here because it's something I definitely didn't do in the beginning. And if you're just starting out with AI, you might not know to do this too. So AI improves as you guide it, as you give it more questions, as you give it more info, it improves how it answers those questions for you. So instead of like just accepting whatever it gives you the first time, or if you take that and you're like, oh, okay, that's a good idea. I'm just going to add this thing to it. I'm going to change this. That's great. You should do that, but then tell it about it. It's like when you're training a person, right? If you're training a new employee, and you take what they give you and you change it and then you launch it, that's great. You got the output you needed, whatever. But that person's never going to get any better, right? They're never going to learn, oh, they had made a mistake here, or oh, what they had given you wasn't up to par in this area. They're not going to know. So if you look at your AI like a person and you need to train it, then it's a little bit easier to provide that feedback. So you can just say, yeah, I liked that, but here's the changes I made, or I like that, but you missed this, or whatever. So it creates more of an iterative workflow than just ask and receive and then you're done. The other thing that you can do too is ask for like multiple ideas, knowing that you only need one email header, right? You only need one subject line. But I'm going to ask for 10 and then I'm going to pick the best one and I'm going to tell it why I picked that. And then the next time it's going to use that information to then give me 10 more that are better or that are more in line with what I had said before. So providing that feedback will make sure that if it has to rework, and it usually will, when you give it like, hey, I made these changes, it will rework it and say, okay, here's the new output. And that's fine. You don't have to even use that. You can if you want, but you just, again, look at it and make sure, okay, yeah, that was better. Or, oh, you missed this that time. So really just train your AI like you would a person. Like it wants to give you what you want. So that feedback is going to help you get there. The other thing is with giving feedback, it's also allow it to give you feedback. So allow it to tell you, hey, your prompt was good, but I need all this other info. So a lot of times what I'll do especially if I'm starting a new GPT instance, right? I'm starting a new chat. I'm like, okay, here's your goal. Here's what I'm trying to do. Ask me questions so that you know what you need to do this. Um, so we have a conversation back and forth. Usually when it does that, it asks like all the questions in one big format that you can do that and you can just put all your answers in one. I like to have it give me one question at a time. So it's like a conversation back and forth and I'm texting. It's just a little easier for me. So I specify that in my prompt. I say, give me one question at a time. But you can just chat with it and just tell it, give it more info. It'll continue to ask you questions, follow-up questions. And then when it's done, it will go ahead and it'll say, yeah, I'm good. I can do these prompts now. What do you need? And then you tell it. So that's one thing that's huge is like just asking it to ask you. And you can also ask it, what do you need? Say, hey, I want to automate these emails or this keyword research or whatever. And say, what kind of prompt would give me the best output? It'll tell you the prompt that it wants in order to do that. So really just looking at it like a person, hey, how can I better communicate with you? So that I think is something that's really missed alongside you do have to edit it when it comes out, right? Like you do have to edit what it tells you. Now, even if you start with a really detailed prompt, um, you can't be afraid to refine and iterate that so that it gets a better idea of what you want. And then when it gives something out, you need to double check it. ChatGPT is well known for hallucinating and just making up facts. So make sure you're reading through it. A lot of times, my kind of general rule, if I'm using any kind of AI to create content, especially if I'm using ChatGPT, which is not the greatest one to write captions and stuff, but if I'm doing that, the first sentence almost always just needs to go. The first sentence is garbage. After that, the rest of the captions pretty good, especially if you've trained it well. I usually just do that. I've told my GPT 1,000 times, I don't that, I don't like that, I don't like that first sentence. It still seems to do the first sentence that I don't like. It's just like an ongoing rule. The first sentence gets garbage, and then the rest of it we edit and revise and post. Definitely, it's definitely not perfect. It doesn't learn everything, but if you create those rules for yourself, start making notes like, okay, I always make these changes or I always do this thing. Either training it better or just doing that on your side after the fact is going to help you get just have a better experience with your chat GPT. I'd also like to run hypothetical situations through it. So, and this is something, if I were doing this, what could go wrong or suggest ways to mitigate potential risks. So you've done all of this research with ChatGPT. It's given you all these ideas. You've given it all of your thoughts. It's given you your biases. You've done a lot of chatting already. But then what are some things that could go wrong and how would it help you work through, oh, I don't want that to happen. So how do we get around that? Making sure that you covered all your bases. It's really good for that. It's really good for giving you, hey, this could happen, that could happen. Here's some different ways that you could work around those things. And then it starts reiterating itself in a way. So that's really cool and something I definitely do. If anything's going to be public, I want to make sure that I looked at all sides of it and really broken down like everything and how to give me kind of bullet points of everything that it's been thinking. Now, another question that I get all the time is what tools do I recommend? Now, there's a ton of them. There's a lot of really great ones. So I can give you examples, but this is not an exhaustive list. For content creation, I usually use ChatGPT, Copy.ai. I've used Jasper AI a little bit. Those are really good ones. If you're doing anything with SEO, Rush is my favorite. It does have AI features now. It's been around for a long time. I've also used some people's talk about Surfer SEO. I don't know as much about that one, but it was in the list that I was looking at and ChatGPT told me about it. That one could be good. For design, Canva now has AI features, so that's cool. Adobe also has AI features now, especially Photoshop are my favorite. Photoshop and Illustrator's AI features are like so cool. So editing photos, taking things out, adding things in, that sort of thing, really cool. Adobe Firefly also has a really cool, if you use Adobe and you have an account with them, you can use Adobe Firefly. It's free and you can generate images for free. And it actually does a pretty good job. It's not too bad. Definitely not perfect, but I really like it. And I like that it's free for us because we use Adobe a lot. Data analysis is another thing that a lot of people use AI for. HubSpot has great AI tools. They're always coming out with new ones. So that's where I usually go. But I use ChatGPT for data analysis as well. And then email campaigns, a lot of your email programs, if you're using an email marketing program, there a lot of them are integrating AI now for AI suggestions to help you write. Those are all really good. HubSpot has that as well. Those are all good. I also use ChatGPT. I think ChatGPT is my go-to, but there are a lot out there. Also, Copilot is a good one. It's more just out of the box, but it'll give you some good outputs for like great ideas and content for like emails and social and stuff like that. All right. So before I adjourn this topic, I want to talk about the ethical use of AI and staying authentic. I think if I did an episode about AI and I didn't talk about this, it would be like I really have missed a big part of it. Like we already talked about, you really do have to edit and check for inaccuracies and ensure that the content is reflecting your expertise, your company. So really, you have to watch it. It's not a like fully automated system, at least not yet. So that's really important. Don't over rely on it. You got to give it something to work from. So giving it all of those ideas is going to do better work if you give it the instructions. Just be giving these really random or like lackluster prompts are going to get a lackluster result. Over relying on it to me is you have not done any thinking research. You don't understand the concept yourself. So you can't tell AI to do a good enough job. That said, AI really is not going to replace your creativity. So it's going to enhance it because it's going to give you things that maybe you didn't already think about or things like that, but it's not going to replace it. So you're still going to have to think about unique ideas all the time. So using it as a tool, not a replacement, it really is not there yet anyway. And the other thing, AI is not cheating. Okay. Maybe if you're in college and you're writing a paper, then maybe they're going to say it's cheating. But for the professional world, and especially in home building, it's not cheating to use AI to come up with ideas for campaigns. It's not cheating to come up with taglines or hooks for a video. Like this is using it as a tool. It doesn't have to be a secret. Let people know that you're using AI. You don't have to feel embarrassed. I've heard that several times. I don't want my boss to know I use it. If your boss is going to have a big problem with it, definitely use it sparingly. Be careful. No, I'm not telling you to go behind anyone's back here, right? But say, like, hey, I used AI to come up with these 10 different ideas and I wanted to chat about this. This is something that would work. I've already audited them. It's fine, right. In my opinion, that's totally fine. So talk to your leaders, see how everyone feels about it. But in general, using AI is not something to be embarrassed about. And if we remove that stigma, I think we're all going to learn a lot faster, right? We're going to be able to talk about these things a lot easier because there's not this like embarrassment attached to it. So those are my main tips. To recap what we've already talked about. I definitely want to encourage all of you to use AI more in your day-to-day, to use it for added ideas, to create a more productive workspace for yourself, to help you with strategy, but use it intentionally. And I want to encourage everyone to be experimental and to try things and have fun. Sometimes you're going to put prompts in, it's not going to work out, right? Like it's not what you wanted. But that's how we learn. That's how the AI learns. I just want to encourage you to be not afraid, be experimental, challenge the AI, challenge yourself, and allow it to ask you questions to get to know you better. That's something that's really, really helped me because I can understand how my prompts now affect the outcomes a little bit more because I've played around with it a little bit more. And then to put my money where my mouth is and take my own advice, I will say that this episode was structured and planned using AI. So a lot of what I shared today, I gave AI my main points, the things that I use it for, and asked for some feedback on that. Is there anything I missed? Things like that. So full transparency, AI helps me a lot with creating this podcast. And it's something that has really reduced the amount of work required to create a podcast like this. So it's not easy. There's a lot that goes into creating content like this, and AI definitely helps streamline that process for me. So if I can do it, you definitely can do it. And I want to help you and give you all the resources that I possibly can, which is why I created a free guide to go along with this episode. It's called Advanced AI Prompts for Marketers, Unlocking Your Second Brain. That link for that download will be in the caption below or in the description for this video or this podcast. And I would love it if you would download it, see what you think. I wrote a ton of content for this downloadable. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. See if that helped you. If you feel like I missed anything in this episode, please comment below because I would love for this to be a resource for people to be able to share ideas and to further the use of AI for our everyday life to just help us be better at our jobs. So remember, AI is not just a tool, it's a collaborator and can turn your good ideas into great ones. So let me know how you're using it, and I will see you in the next video or the next podcast episode. If you are listening online, thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you again. Bye.